Next up is Mike King. You need to stand up and stretch, move your body around. Mike King is going to give you the money schedule. Mike has had a lot of people sell 12.5 and beyond. He developed Casey, the great Casey Cooper, right? And a number of other really elite sales reps. So Mike's going to give you the money schedule for the Sc2 push. Mike, I'm going to step aside and eat something. Is that cool?
Sure.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
Someone wants to spotlight me too.
I will.
Cool.
Yep. I got you.
Cool. All right. I was like, or Lindsay, you can pantomime what I'm doing. But great meeting so far. You know, I remember being not quite a rep. We'll call it an assistant manager, really focused on selling for this push 5 years ago. And I remember feeling different emotions about it at different times. You know, like Brady, I know you felt this way about the job before, where you roll into something stupid confident, like, God, it tears up, you know? And then on the flip side, I had periods of time where I was like, what did I get myself into? You know, why did I say I was going to do this thing or go after this number? You know, I have no idea how this is going to happen. And, you know, some of you may have seen all of this or some of this, you know, if you had some Sc2 PCs with your managers so far, some of you that might be in the cards, you know, over the next couple of days. But I really want to help you put some stuff in perspective of how do you go after the numbers that, you know, you want to hit. So the first thing, you know, that we can talk about is 17 days is a long ass time. Excuse my French, right? Like 17 freaking days, Joseph. Wars have been won and lost in less time than that. You feel me? Like that is an insane amount of time. So one question I have for all of you is, you know, think about when you were in your fast start, assuming you're not still in it, right? If you had the skill set and the talent and the confidence that you have now, and you got to redo everything from the jump, how many of you feel like you would drastically outperform what you sold in your fast start? Right? You know, Timmy's raising his hand and he sold 12 grand. Okay. So even if you had a really good one, you know, there's always room for growth. Well, Sc2 is not a fast start. Sc2 is a fast start plus a week, you know, with time built on the front end to prep like no tomorrow. You know, Spencer, when you were in training, man, I basically gave you like 45 minutes of time in training and then told you to build out a names list independently and show up the next day. Like, for those of you that have been showing up to these meetings, you get, you know, 2-3+ weeks of intentional preparation for Sc2. So I need you to understand that on the front end, that, you know, the time that you're going to spend rolling into this push, you know, you should expect to do really well. Okay. Now I'm a big numbers guy. Okay. You know, data doesn't lie. And I just want to show you the proof of what I'm talking about. But even if you're brand new, you haven't sold a dime yet, you know, I want to show you probably, you know, the 4 most common goals that people go after in an Sc2 push. And we'll talk about how to make that happen. So, you know, it's not to say that your goal can't be higher. I'm not going to try to limit your thinking or anything like that. But for most of you, I'm imagining if you're here, it's because you are heavily contemplating or I've already committed to working towards selling $10,000, 12.5, 15K, or 20. Okay. The cool thing is for all of you, even if you're brand new, when you hit the lowest of these 4, you're going to earn at least $2,000. Some of you branches, you know, in kind of FSMs that are here, you know, some of you could potentially make 5 figures worth of income over the next 17 days, right? In my opinion, anywhere in the middle ground is pretty freaking solid, right, Katie? Like, I don't think you're unsuccessful financially for the next 17 days if you make, we'll call it $3,500 in cash. Does that make sense? Like $2,000 to $10,000, no joke, is well within reach of all of you. And so I put together the game plan of like, what does that actually look like? Okay. It's one thing for me to tell you, you know, 10K is 40 demos, 12.5 is 50, 15 is 60, 20K is 80, right? You can either believe me or you don't. It doesn't really matter to me, but just by the numbers, you know, Bell, when we look at someone that has a 330 CPO average order size, 75% closing, and an 80% what I'd call kept ratio, Okay. What happens with that is on average for every demo you book, you're selling about 200 CPO, right? Lydia, you can basically bank on 200 CPO being produced for every demo that you book. That's accounting for 1 in 5 people flaking on you. That's accounting for 1 in 4 people not buying from you. And that's accounting for your, your average order not being like above and beyond crazy. And I looked at the averages earlier. Our division average order size so far for the summer is 340. Okay. And in company wide, it's 380 right now. So Tanner, if you're like, oh, good, 330 is less than 380, that gives me confidence that I can do that, right? You should feel good about that number. Or on the flip side, Ethan, if you're like, well, shit, my average order size isn't 330 yet, dude, it's not like you have to be a rock star above and beyond rep to get there, right? So just know that you're a jump, skip, and a hop away from it. You can move the needle to that number really quickly. Does that make sense so far? All right, in the spirit of gateway training, double fist bump if I'm talking sense. Beauty. Okay, so moving on down the road with what Lindsay talked about, I'm just going to tell you 75% closing ratio for a push. Like, y'all, give me a break. 1 in 4 people, I'll give you the out, but I guarantee you, you can sell like lists far and beyond more often than not, right? So give me like a thumbs up if you're like, I think that's a reasonable number, even if I'm not there yet, right? Some of you have 80+% closing ratios already that I'm aware of, right? But for 17 days, when it matters as much as it does to you, with some of the confidence that Lindsay gave to you just now and that your managers will continue giving to you, that's going to happen for you as well. As long as you're reading the phone approach, by the way, Thomas, like you should not have more than 1 in 5 people flake, right? If you just literally read the words on page 24, or whatever script you use, every once in a while people are going to flake on you, but realistically it should end up like this. Okay. So for demos completed, just using these numbers, that's what it looks like. 40 for 10K, 51 for 12.5, 61 for 15, 81 for 20. Okay. And it's really like 80 and a half, 60 and a half, 50, and a half. And that's like 40.4. That's how the numbers hash out. So Lydia, you're going to give me the out for the decimal points that it's basically what I told you up here. Cool. Okay. So numbers don't lie. These formulas are correct, right? What does that look like though in terms of phoning? Okay. Again, just plan on for every 5 demos that you book, one of them is going to flake on you. So just by a quick show of hands, it's cool if you don't know what your goal is yet, but how many of you are like, kind of at the lowest, I would want to sell 10,000. Like that's at least the number that I would want to push for my goal. Okay. Yeah. Hey, by the way, your magic number now is 51 demos over the next 17 days, worst case, right? Just lock that away mentally. I need to book at least 51 demos in 17 days. What's cool about that, Casey? That's 3 demos a day, right? Raise your hand if you've ever done 3 demos in a day before. Okay. In my opinion, that's like a part-time job. That's not like I'm going all out full tilt, right? So that's a good thing, right? You can do that is my point. How many of you are thinking 12.5 and above? Show of hands. Okay, great. 12.5 and above, your magic number of demos booked, it's going to be 63, assuming that you get these averages. 63 demos over 17 days, that's less than 4 a day. Give you a little bit more confidence that that's a doable thing. Some head nods. Cool, I will take it. How many of you want the rock? Rock plus. Yeah. Trust me, by the way, if you're thinking 12.5, think 15. The rock is dope. I've had more assistant managers than I care to count earn them. And even if it just sits on your mantelpiece, it's kind of a cool conversation piece, right? Casey, you outdid them with a boulder, which it's a little bit cooler. But for those of you rock chasers, 76 demos booked, 61 completed. Those are your magic numbers. And who's really going full tilt? You want to sell 20 grand plus over the next 17 days. Great. Again, assuming you get really average results in terms of what I'm telling you, your magic number of demos booked is 101. Your magic number of demos completed is 81. Okay. So what does that actually look like? And again, all of your managers have this or some iteration of this, but you know, when you're thinking of booking somewhere between 50 to 100 demos scheduled, you know, what becomes infinitely important to you is this little sucker right here, right, Allison? Like your phone, this is your ATM. So Lydia, I'm going to pick on you for a sec. Remember that week where your phone was broken? That happened to me in my fast start. I bought like a burner phone from Walmart, right? It was basically the equivalent of what I was using. So I was like, I need one of these bad boys, right? Now, hopefully nothing like that happens to any of you, but like go to the junk drawer, break out that old Nokia brick, find the old charger, slap it in, swap the SIM, just go to town, right? This sucker prints money. How many of you are at 20% commission or more? At least 20%. Okay, so think about it this way. If I told you get average results as I did, and for every demo you book, Jack, you're counting on at least 200 CPO being created with average results, including cancellations, including no sales, and so on. Buddy, that's an average of $40 in your pocket every time you book a demo. You ever think about that before? Timmy, you're at 40%. You can double that, dude. It's an average of $80 in your pocket for every demo that you book, right? Probably makes you look at phoning slightly differently, right? Now let's talk about it. How many of you would say that, you know, phoning's not your most enjoyable part of the job? Well, cheers, join the freaking club, right? But it is an insanely necessary part of the job, right? And I will tell you, if, you know, Bell, say I gave you an unlimited amount of time to make as many calls as you want, and I told you, hey, I'll pay you $40 for every demo you book, right? You'd probably book a lot of demos. I want you to treat your phone jams like that during the push, okay? How many of you have ever had someone not answer on the phone before when you call them? Also a universal part of the job, right? How many of you, we'll just do some estimates here. Lindsay, I know you had last summer the most, we'll call it challenging phoning results of anybody. So I'll save you for last, but how many would you say it's a fair bet that like at least every 1 in 5 calls you make on average, you're booking a demo? Every 1 in 5. Okay, cool, right? That means you're making $8 a call. Carrie, my first job, I made $8 an hour. You can make at least $8 a call. If you're at 20%, you're averaging 1 in 5. I'm going to tell you though, Maddie, plan on 1 in 10 for the push. So that way you show up ready to execute at a higher level and you just hit your goals faster when it doesn't take you that long. Does that make sense? So plan on making, call it $4 a call for those of you at 20%, or $6 a call for those of you at 30% with average averages. Y'all with me? Okay. Lindsay, how many calls did it take for you to book a demo on average last summer? Just for everybody's sake here.
I'd say 20 calls.
20 calls. Okay. So even so, let's say Lindsay was at 20%. She wasn't. Let's say she was at 20%. You're still making $2 a call, right, Joseph? You know, if you're making $2 a call, I think 25 calls in an hour is pretty straightforward. You know, my manager always told me to push for 30, even just 20 though, Allison, right? Lindsay was making $2 a call, 20 calls an hour. That's still $80 an hour for effort on the phones. Do you think phoning is still worth her time? Right? So hopefully that helps you. And why I want you to think of it in that way is there's a lot of prep work that we do on the phones leading into the push. Okay. Mike made the statement earlier, like how many of you would be, you know, ready to rip it up if I booked 20 demos for you rolling into a week? And all of you raised your hands from what I could see, right? Kaylee, that'd be an awesome feeling if all you had to do was show up. Well, Mike's not going to do that for you. I'm not going to do that for you. Why it's not going to do that for you, right? Like you've got to do that for yourself. And so on Saturday, you kind of get a little taste of push prep for phoning. I don't necessarily think you need to go to both phone jams. I would encourage you to pick one though, right? And Jack, the way that I'd look at this Saturday phone jam, man, whether you do the earlier one or the later one in the afternoon, it's like, can I worst case get 5 booked, shoot for at least 8+ over the course of 4 hours? Dude, that's 2 booked an hour to get 8+. How many of you feel like you've ever booked more than 2 demos in an hour before of phoning? Oh, wait, all of you did in training when you were brand new and knew nothing, right, Corbin? Right, so that's a really realistic, really attainable goal. But the reason why I want you to do that on Saturday is it gives you a little bit of momentum and a little bit of confidence before the big one, right? Brady, I want you roll. Remember how we talked a minute ago, Brady, about like those times where you felt really confident and just like on point, ready to rip it up. That's why I want you to phone on Saturday. So you roll into Sunday feeling that way for the big boy, right? This is the mother of all phone jams, the all day phone day. And again, I'm not giving you high watermarks here. I've had people book more than 30 demos during an all day phone day, but I think booking somewhere between 15 to 20, Carrie, you should feel pretty good about it, right? It's probably more than you booked in a day before, coupled with booking 5 to 8 plus on Saturday with these two. Now you've got 20 to 28 plus demos booked before you even touch the push period. Y'all with me so far? Again, Joseph, feel pretty good, right? To roll into a week with 20 to 28 plus booked. And then to cap it off, we've got the Sc2 Kickoff event. You know, I would also phone Monday night, and then you're rolling into Sc2, the actual push dates, Tanner. Boom, with what is that? You know, 25 to 36 appointments booked before you even have to do a demo. Some of you will sell 10,000 just on the demos that you book here, right? Like, Will, you remember your buddy Will's first weekend? Okay, I think he did like 12 demos and sold $7,000, right? 12 demos, we're talking triple that of what you could have lined up rolling into your first week of the push. Okay. But even so, even while I have worked with some people over the years, Alexis, that started Sc2 really strong, like Will Tyndall and Chase Lyles, $9,000 first weeks, that is not the norm. Okay. And I want to prepare you for that. Okay. What is pretty normal for a lot of you is that by this Friday or the Saturday afterwards, which is on the next tab, Maxwell, a lot of you might just be at like $500, $1,000 to $3,000. Okay. It's a relatively normal range. And Jack, do you think sitting on Friday night, having sold, let's call it 2K, do you think you're going to think internally that you're pacing for 15K or whatever your goal is? Probably not. But you're more than on pace is what I want to share with you, right? Because for some of you, this is the first time that you're really amping it up. Okay. Right. And it's kind of like anything else. You're dusting off the hinges a little bit. You're greasing up the hinges a little bit. You're gaining inertia. You're gaining momentum. That's normal. Okay. Some of you will have a rip roaring first week based on you cranking the phone jams efficiently with a names list that you worked hard to build and were excited about on the front end. But none of you by this Friday, none of you should make any assumptions, Carrie, as to how well you're going to do for the entire 17 days, right? This is a process. Okay. Y'all with me so far? Good. You see these morning meetings where it says Alliance? Cool. This is your lifeline, by the way. This is your lifeline. How many of you have felt better, more energized, more secure in your position after having a conversation with your manager before? Okay. How many of you have felt that way, you know, after having a conversation with one of your peers or one of your assistant managers before, not just your district manager or branch manager? Yeah. Right. The reason why we have this alliance meeting in the mornings is so that way, those of you that just had a rock star day prior can help inspire people that maybe didn't do as well. Right. And also those of you that maybe didn't have an awesome day prior, don't beat yourself up, because you see people are still in the mix with you, right? I'm going to tell you all, those of you that are on the Push Alliance, you know, you're essentially the Navy SEALs or the Green Berets of Cutco, right? You are striving to do something elite, Joseph. And this morning meeting every single day, it's not a pick and choose type deal to me. Like, you're either in or you're out, right? Sometimes we used to lock the door, like, of our physical office if you were late, right? For this meeting, it was like, you are either there or you are not there. But the people that go to this consistently are the ones that hit their goals. Because not only are you going to start your morning off on a really good foot with some really good momentum, but Lydia, we're also going to help you to do the thing that you probably don't want to do first thing in the morning. And that's your maintenance phone time, right? And I want you to imagine like every single day, just in those morning phone times of booking 2 to 5, appointments for the day ahead, right? Casey, I'd probably feel really good continuously adding to your schedule day after day after day, like call it playing whack-a-mole with the extra time slots. Just one pops up that you haven't booked, bam, you get it in morning phone time, right? So Henry, the way that I always approach booking my demos for a day, dude, I think that evening demos on weekdays, and I think that weekend demos are better in that you will sell more and more frequently because it's easier to get both spouses together, right? However, in a push, demos are an inconvenience to your phone time, Corbin. And the best times to make phone calls are in the mornings before 9 and after like 5:30 p.m. in the evenings, Monday through Friday, because that's when moms and dads aren't at work, right? And then on weekends as well. So Mac, do you see how there's like these dark blue demos in the middle of the day and then these light blue demos to start the day in the evening? Mac, I actually want you to think inverted and try to book your 11, 12, 30, like all your midday demos first. And like Lindsay shared, these aren't necessarily your signature sales and your cookware combos, right? This is your $200 to $400 like list orders. And you just chip away, call it 600, 800 CPO in the middle of the day, one buy 3, get 1 free special at a time. And you should feel good about that, right? But Mac, the reason why you don't book this demo or these demos and leave these blank is because if your next few days are a little light in the push, you want to have a demo or 2 demos worth of time to make phone calls. Does that make sense? Because Mac, a Tuesday night phone jam when you have a light Wednesday, Thursday demos booked, that is worth more CPO to you than just doing 2 demos and having to kind of eat it in the morning. Y'all with me so far? Okay. So again, when you get this copy, if you don't have it already, think about prioritizing how can I book the middays first, right? And then fill in the blanks with those quote unquote money phone times too. Okay. But y'all, look, assuming that, again, you don't have rock star phone results, but you show up to stuff and you execute, right? You just go, I wouldn't say go through the motions, but you do what you're supposed to do with intention, even without being a 0.01% tier performer. You're still in a position where you can book about 40 demos plus just in that first week's period of time of the push. Feel pretty good, right, Sarah? Okay. You're in a position where even just these first 4 days, you can do 20 to 33 demos. Okay. Now let's go into the second week, which still technically isn't the end of the first week until this Monday. We're going to keep rolling with it. This Saturday, man, oh man, oh man. This is why phoning hard at the team night the week before really matters. This is why making sure that you've got focus for leaving some of these demo times open if needed really matters, because having a flex demo where you make phone calls on a Thursday night to really fill up a Saturday is going to make you feel awesome. So Jack, remember when I said if you're at, call it $1,000 on Friday, how you shouldn't feel bad? You might be at $1,000 total on Friday and then sell $2,500 on Saturday. And now you're $3,500 still only 5 days in, right? Night and day in terms of your mentality. Seriously, don't worry about it, right? Focus on what you can control, focus on the phones. And then Sunday, y'all, we're not doing any demos either. Okay. And Henry, you've seen this before, right? Like demos are an inconvenience to your phone time. The biggest sale you have had in your career does not match up to the amount of CPO that you'll create from phoning all day, right? Even if you're like, but it's the only day they can meet with me. They swear they're so busy every other time. Who cares, Mac? Just don't even do them in the push then. If that is sincerely the only time that one person can meet with you, do a demo with them outside of the push. They're not meant to be in your Sc2 schedule, essentially, right? Because remember, Sarah, when you make calls all day, that really primes you for the week ahead, okay? And it's essentially rinse, repeat, week 1, week 2. Big phone blitz on Sunday, consistent phone jams in the mornings after the alliance meeting, big phone blitz at the team meeting, leaving these evening demos, not that you don't book them, right, Lucy, but do you leave them as the last to book once the main demos in your schedule are filled with the 3-day focus, right? And then boom, that's another 30 to 50 demos right there. okay, that you have opportunities for. That's another 32 plus demos that you can book just by showing up to these events in green, not even using any extra phone jams with flex demos. Nick, you want to know where we're at? 38 booked, 32 booked, that's 70 plus booked, right? Without even rolling into the last week. Okay. Now let's look at the last full week. Okay. Again, boom, big Saturday. Big Sunday. Brady, why big Sunday? Because big Sunday phoning means big Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in sales, right? Why are we phoning for Wednesday night team night instead of trying to crank out every little demo that we can? Because big phoning Wednesday night equals massive Thursday, right? Again, at this point, y'all, you have momentum, you have inertia, you have confidence, you have fresh leads, you have all of that on your side. And a lot of you will sell just as much, if not more, in the last 3 days of the push as you did the subsequent week, right? And a lot of you will double your sales from the first week into the second week. Some of you will even triple it, right? But it really takes commitment to the process. Okay. Again, how many of you have ever run a race before? Like a mile, a 5K, a 10K marathon, something like that. You just quick show of hands. Okay. Some people, I used to run cross country in high school. Some people start really strong and then they kind of like peter out in the middle and then they find their second wind later on. Some people start slower and then they gain speed over the course of a race. Some people are very consistent throughout, right? Y'all have seen that before. Okay. My point is, I don't know, Maddie, exactly how you're going to pace for stuff over the 17 days. I don't want you to actually care. What I want you to do for the SC2 process more than anything is I want you to stay committed to the process itself. I want you to focus on the things that you have complete control over and have faith that if you put enough effort, Katie, where it counts, right? The rest is a given. It's a byproduct of what you do here. Okay. Y'all are going to do great. I'm really excited for you. I've had a handful of you message me in the chat. Can I get that? Yes, of course. I'll drop the link for you. Okay. Enjoy the rest of the event. Take lots of notes and I'll see all of you next Monday as well.
All right. How do I screen share you or whatever? Unhost you. Remove spotlight. There we go. Awesome. Okay. Michael, thank you very much. Any quick questions for Mike? Mike, you probably have to get going here, but any quick questions for Mike here? Well, you've got him. All right.